Hey everybody, for those of you that don't know, my name's Hoopy. Today we're working on the RZR 800. Short backstory on this. This is my dad's RZR 800 and it locked up. Don't know why it locked up. We're getting ready to find out. About a year and a half ago, I completely went through this entire bike. Every bushing, bearing, everything was replaced. It had a burnt valve and a bad head gasket. And while I was in there, I went ahead and replaced the piston rings. Did a in-frame half-ass overhaul. He put 2,000 miles on the bike, had no issues. Said he went to ride it there the other day and it started to rattle and then kaput. Wouldn't crank over. Shut off, stopped. So I'll show you how that looks. And when you crank it, this is what it does. She's locked. And anyone that's ever owned an 800 has probably known or heard about this little issue here with the weep hole for the water pump and oil pump. They put this little hole here, and every time you'd go through any water or mud or anything, it would go into this hole and then wear out your seals. A little trick to that is you put a big grease fitting on here, tap it out to 1/4 inch, and run a hose up so that it can't do that. So just first thing I looked at, this hose is full of antifreeze and oil. There's black stuff in it. That is not a good sign. The black stuff, anyhow, the oil. I don't know. I hope it's not the crank, but I was kind of hoping that maybe just by chance he might have dropped a valve or something stupid, and this would be a nice, easy fix. But let's get her tore apart and find out what's going on here. Well, as much as I really don't want to do this, I'm going to take it down off these jack stands and I'm going to shove it outside the door there where it's raining. I'll put some tape over these snorkel things and I'm going to pressure wash this off because we got to pull the valve cover in the head. Probably the head, at least the valve cover, so we can see what's going on with this motor here. Alright, so we got the exhaust header off and the vent tube to the top here to the crankcase. Next, we're going to pull this valve cover off here and take a look down in there. And then from there, if we don't find anything immediate, we'll be pulling these injectors out. Well, the injectors themselves will stay. The injector rail is going to come off. And then there's 3 head bolts up here, and there's 3 head bolts down here, and the head will come off. Well, I don't see anything evident on the valve train. Alright, we went ahead and we got all the rocker arms and push rods pulled out. So next, we've got to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the head bolts out. I've already went ahead and undid the thermostat housing and stuff over there. So once we pull these, this head will just slide up off here. Oh! Alright, got the head pulled up off there, and I would just like to note that nothing that I did to this bike caused this issue. As much as I was actually hoping it kind of did, I was hoping to see something here was the issue versus where the issue actually is going to lie. So just for shits and giggles, let's hit the starter here. Oh, that's a bad idea. Fuel pump fuse, no, sending unit. Unplug the sending unit, dummy. And you can see here, that's missing. Come on. There we go. Connecting rod gone. So that's what cracked the cylinder then. Hey, I can at least say it wasn't nothing to do with my rebuild. As long as that piston ring is still in there, or the circlips to hold that in, it wasn't me. Man. So the rod snapped. Well, good news is it didn't crack the case. It did not. So that is really good news. Bad news is we're still into a lower rebuild. That's a new crank. Because these connecting rods are made right onto the crank on these. They're not replaceable like an old Kohler or, you know, GM engine or anything, any kind of a car engine. So, all right. At least we know what we're up against. Well, the sad fact of this matter is, no matter how much I want or how much I do or do not want to do this, we got to pull the motor. It's got to come out to do the rebuild. So, we're going to start unbolting shit. Alright, we got the clutch cover off there. Next up, we've got to pull our primary clutch. Well, first thing we got to do is get the belt off there. Then we got to pull that primary clutch off the crankshaft. I think we've got to take our secondary off too, because we've got to get that black cover that goes between those two belts off there that hold the engine to the transmission. So, this one, the primary clutch sits on a tapered shaft. I have a clutch puller tool. Once I get that bolt out of there, I'll show you how that works. More than likely, I'm going to need a... You gotta be kidding me. That was like effortless. I figured I was going to need a pry bar to hold it to keep the engine from turning. Okay, there's this little sleeve thingy in here. You got to get it out so you can get the bolt out. Once you get that sleeve to come out, it'll let you pick the bolt up at the right angle. Otherwise, if it comes out to the edge, you can see how I struggled with that. It won't let you have it. Now your secondary clutch over here, it should be on a spline shaft. It shouldn't be on a tapered shaft. Yeah, it should come off pretty simple like that. So my clutch puller tool was actually one for a like a Razor 1000 and stuff, but it won't fit down in here to these 800s like this because the 800 ones are shorter. So I just cut the tip off so it gives me enough room. Should be able to just shove the tip in there like that. And it's that simple. I've had some of them where you've had to, run this thing on with an impact, smack it with a hammer. But for the most part, they usually do pretty good coming off that tapered shaft. Well, I'm going to show you guys this camshaft where it's broke. And then I think I'm going to call it a day because I've had enough for today anyhow. I'll throw a rag or something over this, try to keep stuff out of it, even though it probably doesn't matter because it's probably full of aluminum and everything else. So, if you see that crack right there at the tip of my finger, yeah, that's the camshaft that snapped in half. Oh, man. Just one thing after another. This, ain't looking good. So, I just laid down on the ground. I was going to yank the skid plate off here real quick. And I saw something that made me laugh because I kind of forgot about it. So, this here, see the piece of aluminum? That's the original skid plate. Well, it's an aftermarket one that came on the bike when my dad bought it. He was riding one day and happened to notice that he was leaking a bunch of oil. Well, what had happened was he had hit a rock with this stupid aluminum skid plate, and it bent up against the engine and rubbed a hole into the engine. He kept it full of oil, got it home, didn't hurt it. So he JB welded it, and it surprisingly has held, and that's been like 5 years ago. But so to prevent that from happening again, I want to show you this. This is 3/8 AR plate that I gave him. He put that across there. He bent the aluminum one to fit it. So that this thing, I don't give a damn what you hit. You ain't going to bend that AR plate. And so I was kind of laughing about that. But then again, just thinking about that and remembering that this case had a hole rubbed in it, I'm going to talk to my dad and see what his thoughts are. But maybe we'll just buy a remanufactured engine for this, because then we'd have a good case again. Everything inside would be fixed. We could just slap it in here. I won't have to screw with it, and we won't have to worry about taking the chance of if I rebuild this and then maybe it starts leaking oil and then he's out, all that. So I'm going to talk to him about that, and we'll find out what happens. Alright, it's a new day. We're back up here again. I forget where I left off, but anyhow, I'm going to get under there and yank that skid plate out of there so we can finish unbolting this block and get it up out of here. Alright, well that looks a little better without all that mud and stuff down there because that skid plate. I don't know. What do I need to do here next? So it looks like the transmission bolts to it here. Of course, we got the motor mount there. Alright, I'll just show you what I got here. So there was this little plate right here. Had 4 10mm bolts and 2 14mm nuts on it. I got that off there. And then I had to come underneath. And up underneath here, if you can see that stud and that stud, those both had 14mm nuts. And then I bumped the bottom of the engine, and you can see that little crack I got started there. So, basically, let's see here. I'm going to put the jack under it, under the oil pan from the top, and jack up on that, and I should be able to slide this engine up and out of here. I watched a video of a couple goofs a minute ago. They pulled the whole transaxle and rear diff and everything out to do this, and I can't see doing that. There should be no reason. This engine should not come out of here without all that. I mean, Polaris is not that dumb. Oh yeah, and on this motor mount, the only thing I did was take the 2 bolts out of the bottom. I left all of it together there, because if it should slide up and out, then I should be able to pick it up out of here. And like that, there, you can pull the engine without pulling all this other bullshit. That's just stupid to do all that. So, we got it out. I showed you guys what all was wrong, that camshaft and everything. I'm going to tell my dad we need a motor. I think we're going to be way better off to send this thing off and just get a whole new motor back. Probably won't get a core out of this one. I'm guessing they're going to say it's bad. Well, clearly with that hole in the bottom of the case, we know it is. The hole was rubbed in there though, it didn't bust in there. So, I would say for the time of me rebuilding this, and definitely for the price and everything, have a whole new motor with a warranty, that's probably the way we're going to go. So I guess we'll see when we have a new motor sitting here. Till then, I'm going to reassemble this motor because we do have to ship it back regardless. So I went ahead and got this put back together here. I'm going to have to wait. I found a company, CW Motorsports, or out of Indiana or Illinois, one of the two, pretty close to us. I think that's how I'm going to go through to get the motor. But basically, they're going to ship me the new one, and then I've got to ship them back the core. Whenever I get the new one, then I'll see what all I've got to pull off this. Like, I'm not sure if I've got to keep certain sensors or, well, like especially like my coolant temp sensor. I don't know. I'll have to look, see what I've got to swap over to that other motor, and then I can send this one back. Right now, it's just a waiting game. I decided to push this thing over here, and just to appease myself, because I know if we do get that new engine, it's going to be nice, shiny, and clean. I'm going to probably get some oven cleaner or degreaser or something and spray all this down and pressure wash this off just to make this look better. All this oil and stuff, these 800s, for some stupid reason, they had a line going from the top of the valve cover over to the air cleaner again, and it was a vent line from the crankcase. But Polaris put a slit in the bottom of it. Why? I have no ungodly idea. And sometimes if oil would go up here, it would drip out that slit, and you'd end up with all this. So you put a solid line on there, and then if it did put oil into anything, it just put it into the air filter, and it didn't really hurt anything, because all the bikes that I work on, like my dad's or mine, I put uni air filters on anyway. UNI, however you say it. So they're an oil air filter. So if it gets oil on the air filter, it's not a bad thing. Hey, it's a new day. Look at what we got here. Let's get this some gun opened up. Alright, so we're up here on the bench. We're going to get ready to go ahead and swap this stuff over. And they sent us a nice little instruction thing, and this here is on the break-in and all that. And I've got to send the core back in that same package and all that, whatnot. So, let's get started swapping stuff over here. Alright, we're ready to go in with this motor. To pick it up, put it in there, I just put a ratchet strap around the cylinders here. We're going to take it up. The motor only weighs like 100 pounds. It's not that heavy, it's just there are a lot of things that can get broke off if I accidentally drop it. So, I'd rather do it this way. Okay, so I gotta go underneath because I'm gonna have to push up and line them two studs up with that transmission and get them to drop into it. We're in there. It should hold itself there. Sitting on I think we got to wiggle on it a little bit, get it to drop all the way down in. But for the most part, we're there. There you go, nice shiny new motor sitting down in there. I got to go underneath, put the 2 bolts or the 2 nuts on the 2 studs. And we got to bolt that plate right there. That's all that holds the motor to the transmission. There's 2 studs off the motor, and that plate goes in there. And it's got 2 studs on the transmission that go through, and that plate's got 2 holes with another 4 holes, so there's 4 bolts right there. And that's what holds it all together. So, yeah, I'm probably just going to put this on time lapse and start assembling this thing. All right, we are together to a point to where I need to put antifreeze and oil in it, and I got to put the header on too. I need to put the header on, and then we can put oil and antifreeze in it, and we can start this. I've got her all buttoned up here to run, ready to go. All right, we got it all full of oil. We got everything put back together, good enough to start it, to test it. Full of oil, full of antifreeze. Paper says start it, just let it come up to temp, and make sure all the air is out of the coolant system. Shut it off and let it cool completely back down. So, it's the moment of truth, I guess. Slap this thing back together real quick. Probably not even going to record it. Nothing special to putting on the plastic and all that stuff. So I'll get that done and we'll get back. Well, by golly, there we go. She's all back together and ready to go down the road. I got to do a little bit of break-in driving on it and stuff still. Follow the paper, and I still got to send the old motor back. But aside from that, this 800 is good as new, pretty much. So, you guys like videos like this? Go check out the rest of my channel. Thanks for watching.